What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brandon Smith. So it's a little different aesthetic since I've seen you last. I hope you don't mind the changes. I am very sunburnt. Let's get into it. The day is Tuesday, April 29th, 2003. The song In the Club by rap powerhouse 50 Cent is #1 on the Billboard charts. The film Identity, starring John Cusack, is #1 at the box office, and just 2 days from now, American President George W. Bush will deliver the now infamous Mission Accomplished speech from aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln just off the coast of San Diego, California, 200 miles northeast in Nashville, Tennessee. 13-year-old Tabitha Tuders is on her way to catch the bus. Along the same path traversed innumerable times, she disappears forever. This day in mystery. Tuesday, April 29th, 2003, in Nashville, Tennessee, is relatively reasonable for a city known for its warmth. With a daytime high of 75 degrees Fahrenheit, the comfortability of spring is much enjoyed by residents of the Music City. Tabitha Tuders is one such Tennessean. Just 13 years young, Tabitha was born on February 15th, 1990 to mom Deborah and dad Bo. The third child in lineage, older siblings Jamie and Kevin quickly assigned the sandy blonde little girl the nickname Boo. Although the most junior of the pack, she acts anything but her age. Tuders is an old soul through and through, preferring to spend her time with the elderly female inhabitants of the neighborhood, fondly referring to these life-indentured individuals as her grandmas. Generous with her affection, Tabitha is also very close to her own family, so much so that even though she is just 2 pounds shy of 100, she can still often be found curled up at the foot of her parents' bed on any given morning. April 29th, 2003 is one such morning. At 6 a.m., Deborah Tuders steps over her daughter, careful not to rouse her from her slumber, on her way to Tom Joy Elementary School, where she works in the institution's cafeteria. An hour later, at 7 a.m., Bo Tuders jostles the little girl in the nightgown tenderly. "Get up and get ready for school," Bo says. "Before, I love you." "All right, Daddy, I'm getting up," Tabitha responds. "Before, I love you too." And with this exchange, the delighted patriarch of the Tuders clans heads off for his own employ as a short-haul truck driver. A dedicated student, Tabitha has zero problem getting herself to school. Tuders' perfect attendance is a testament to this fact. Whilst her older sister, Jamie, sleeps just down the hall alongside her 2 children, Tabitha readies herself for the academic day. The weather is decent, so a light blue t-shirt and Mud brand jeans is today's attire. At 7:50 a.m., Tuders slides on a pair of white Reebok sneakers and departs the family residence at 1312 Lillian Street. Clasped in Tabitha's right hand is her report card. Tuders scans the document as she walks. Her eyes flitter from capital A to capital A, letters that fill the entirety of the page. Tabitha routinely turns the corner from Lillian Street onto 14th Street. a television repairman who lives near the top of Boscobel Street, sees the beaming Tuders as she turns onto his street as he readies himself for the workday. Casually a stroll without a care in the world, the electronics handyman watches as Tabitha disappears over the steep horizon of Boscobel. However, when the big yellow school bus arrives at the foot of the sloped street, Tuders is not present. Deborah Tuders arrives home from work at 1 p.m. on the afternoon of April 29th. Deborah is surprised when the clock ticks past 4:30 p.m. and there is no sign of the usually prompt Tabitha. Believing that the most logical conclusion is that her daughter has become waylaid at the bus stop by friends, the mildly concerned mom heads to the scene. Here, Deborah asks the smattering of kids if they have seen Tabitha, but all respond in the negative. With worry now rising in the woman, Tuders heads down to Bailey Lee Middle School in search of her daughter. At the institution, Deborah is shocked when told by officials that Tabitha did not attend school that day. Now in a proper panic, Tuders calls her husband and daughter. When Bo and Jamie each tell the now frantic woman that Tabitha is not with them, Deborah immediately places a call to police. By 6 p.m., authorities have congregated with the family at their home on Lillian Street. A subsequent search of the property reveals that Tuders has left behind $20, her collection of makeup, as well as her individual copy of the key to the home. Also found in Tabitha's room is a business card-sized paper. Pastel in color with matching balloons, the placard contains an image of cartoon character Winnie the Pooh holding a pink heart-shaped pillow. Also on the card, in what is believed to be Tabitha's handwriting, is Tuders' name, address, and phone number, with the words, "Call me," emblazoned below. Strangely, the words "sexy girl" are crossed out on the note and replaced with the words "ghetto girl" just underneath. When presented with the strange clue, Deborah says that she remembers seeing the card in Tabitha's room on an earlier occasion, but has no idea why her daughter would have the card or what purpose it serves. Tuders' hair and toothbrush are both collected in the interest of preserving DNA for identification purposes. The grim reality of the macabre confiscation is not lost on the family. However, while investigators do prepare themselves for foul play to be an outcome in Tabitha's case, contrarily, they do not issue an Amber Alert. Detectives point to the absence of requisite evidence of an abduction necessary to trigger the alert as the impetus for the decision. In actuality, the determining body believes that Tuders is a runaway. The family vehemently disagrees with the determination. The logic behind their belief is twofold. For one, Tabitha was not a rebellious child, and two, was very much afraid of getting in trouble. The family's portrayal of their missing loved one falls on deaf ears. 2 days later, a more thorough search of the home unearths a note. Discovered in Tabitha's bedroom, the small white parchment contains only the letters TDT plus MTL. The letters TDT, of course, refer to Tabitha herself, Tabitha Danielle Tuders. However, when pressed for whom the MTL initials could refer to, the Tuderses draw a blank. On May 3rd, an unnamed 11-year-old schoolmate of Tabitha's comes forward, saying that on the morning of April 29th, he witnessed Tuders walking towards the bus stop. Mid-approach, he reports that she was stopped by a black male in his 30s or 40s wearing a baseball cap in a red car. According to the boy, Tabitha and the unknown man shared a brief exchange. Tuders then entered the vehicle and the pair departed in the direction from which the car came. A scent dog investigation of the scene seemed to support the eyewitness claims, as the canines followed Tabitha's path to the bus stop before stopping at the exact location of the alleged interaction on Boscobel Street and retracing the scent from the direction in which they arrived. However, despite the seemingly substantiating evidence, detectives still question the sighting and publicly express doubt over the 11-year-old's story. Missing posters fade under the Nashville sun, all while leads go cold and Tabitha Tuders does not come home. As the years passed and Tabitha remained missing, Tennesseans hipped to the increasing likelihood that Tuders was in fact abducted. But despite the public sentiment, authorities remained firmly in the camp that she was not. This runaway-centric investigation found that Tabitha was active in various online communities. Tuders spent time associating with countless internet friends in her school's library. Detectives expanded their search to the virtual world, but due to the anonymity associated with these connections, a comprehensive list of people whom Tabitha interacted with online could not be established. Investigators also pointed to the TDT plus MTL note found in Tuders' bedroom as evidence of her absconding. Tabitha's family could not identify the source of the unknown initials. As such, detectives surmised that they must belong to an unknown love interest and more than likely the person who Tuders ran away to be with. Bo, Deborah, and Jamie scoffed at the notion, and eventually, after racking their collective brains, the family was able to come up with a potential identity for the mysterious acronym. An 18-year-old family friend of the Tuders' bore these initials. Police interviewed this young man, and he was found to have nothing more than a passing association with the missing girl. If, as detectives have long suspected, Tabitha did in fact run away, Tuders has done a superlative job, very uncharacteristic of her primitive age, of keeping her actions and whereabouts secreted for the past 20 plus years. One of the leads that was explored early on in the disappearance of Tabitha Tuders was the identity of the black man in the red car. When examining the family's network of contemporaries, a rather interesting connection was discovered. Months prior to Tabitha's disappearance, her sister Jamie was dating a man who drove a red car. This man was also African American and fell within the 30 to 40 years of age, estimated by the 11-year-old eyewitness. As such, police were naturally eager to speak with this individual. According to the unnamed male, he and Jamie had broken up well before Tabitha had gone missing, and since then, he had never been anywhere near the area from which Tuders was last seen. He also denied that he ever owned a red car. In fact, the man said that he did not own any car at present and hadn't for some time. He is subsequently issued a polygraph test and passes. Already leery of the red car story for detectives, the individual's aced lie detector test cements the skepticism, and Jamie's ex is ruled out as a suspect. The aforementioned red car was not the only vehicle of interest regarding the disappearance of Tabitha Tuders. There too was a green car. In June 2008, a man finds himself in a Nashville tattoo parlor. He rolls up his sleeve and engages in some small talk with the artist. Soon, he realizes that the woman at the helm of the ink is a cousin of Tabitha Tuders, and oh boy, does he have a story to tell her. The man says that on the morning of April 29, 2003, he was riding his bike up and down Boscobel Street. From behind handlebars, he witnessed a sandy-haired blonde teenage girl enter a green vehicle. In the coming days, after seeing the various Tabitha Tuders missing persons flyers throughout the area, he came to believe that he had witnessed her abduction. Desensitized by this point to oft-told tall tales, Tabitha's cousin presses the human canvas as to why he didn't come forward with this information at the time. Incredibly, the man proclaims vehemently, "I did." He says that he called authorities with the information just days into May and was shocked when no one followed up. The man persisted but gave up over time and finishes the testimonial with the foreboding admission that to this day, police still have yet to talk to him regarding the matter. Floored by the serendipity of it all and determined to force the detective's interest, Tabitha's cousin is soon on the phone with Nashville PD. In 2016, a parallel investigation brings a man named Juan Arredondo squarely into investigators' crosshairs. In 2003, Juan was 19 years of age. Arredondo also drove a green car at this time. Reportedly, though debatable, he was also associated with Tabitha Tuders. Tennessee investigators want to speak with Juan and soon find themselves crossing the border to the north into Arredondo's home state of Kentucky. In the interview, Juan denies ever knowing Tabitha. Arredondo also denies abducting Tuders and says that he has long since rid himself of the green car. The veracity of Juan's claims are subjected to polygraph examination. Arredondo passes. On February 12th, 2016, Nashville PD announced via Twitter that Juan Arredondo is not considered to be a suspect at this time. All right. So what do I think happened? The story of Tabitha Tuders is absolutely crushing. A young woman with so much heart disappears so suddenly, and in the wake of her absence, a family is left mourning. I think what stands out for me in the case is the abruptness of the whole event. At 7:50 a.m., Tabitha is a bright teenager on the way to school. At 8 a.m., Tuders is a missing person. The speed of change is terrifying. I just can't imagine if such a scenario happened to one of my loved ones. If I'm honest, I don't think I could go on. The grief and just not knowing, I believe, would probably render me useless to society. The strength that the people demonstrate in the stories that I tell is positively Herculean. Bo and Deborah Tuders are particularly awe-inspiring for me. Their ability to persevere, all while keeping their daughter's investigation at the fore of their being, is absolutely remarkable. My heart truly goes out to them and everyone else in their circle. No easy segue, let's talk theories. Starting with Nashville's PD's collective most likely hypothesis that Tabitha Tuders ran away. I, like her family, really don't think so. I am not so naive to believe that this reality doesn't happen. I know that it does. Every day, in every state, another teenager will make the woefully misguided decision to run away. The reason pool for these individuals is enormous, but in Tabitha's specific case, I can't see a realistic single reasonable motivation. To properly address this theory, I think that I should first discuss the so-called clues left behind in Tuders' room. Firstly, the $20. Yes, I understand that this is not a goodly sum of money, and any adult-brained person knows that these funds certainly won't get you very far. But Tabitha was 13. If she was planning on running away, why wouldn't she have taken this money? That is to say, all of her money. Next, let's talk about the note, the notorious TDT plus MTL missive. Now, I could never begin to get inside the head of a 13-year-old girl. I've never personally had that experience, but I have been a 13-year-old boy, and I can tell you at that age, I did a lot of weird things, least of which was doodling my crush's initials on a piece of paper. Tabitha's family eventually identified the most likely genesis of the MTL letters. Police interviewed this individual, and they most certainly did not abduct or abscond with Tuders. Even if you don't believe that this person is the source material for the cryptic letters, I promise you that there are numerous contemporary celebrities with at least the first and last initials ML that Tabitha could have very easily been daydreaming about at the time. Or, as one Reddit user pointed out, even the more generic My True Love. Whatever the case, I believe that the doodle is much ado about nothing when it comes to determining Tabitha's whereabouts. Similar line of thinking when it comes to the business card. Now, the Tuders did not own a home computer, so we can rule out the possibility that it was printed domestically. So how did it come to be in Tabitha's room? If you head over to Web Sleuths, the theories are rampant. School library, classmate prank, a pimp. The fact of the matter is, unless someone with first-hand knowledge comes forward, none of us will know for sure. My best guess is Tabitha and a school chum with a printer probably whipped these up themselves. At this age, it is common to present a more risque kind of image. It's natural to test your boundaries and see what you can and can't get away with. So the idea that Tuders would call herself sexy girl or ghetto girl is not that far-fetched for me. I mean, the similarly aged Lil Bow Wow put out a song entitled Ghetto Girls just 2 years earlier. Tabitha could have easily been a fan. Could Tuders have been lured into some kind of runaway scenario via her online correspondence? Of course. But for me, this scenario is not simply running away. This is still abduction, and abduction is unfortunately what I believe ultimately befell Tabitha. So now that I've posited my what, let's talk about my who. 2 cars, so let's go alphabetically. Start with the green car. Juan Arredondo drove a green car. The tattoo artist said that on the morning of Tabitha's abduction, he witnessed a sandy blonde-haired girl enter a green car. Reportedly, Tuders and Arredondo had a connection, and well, that's it. One in Arredondo also passed the polygraph. And yes, I understand that lie detectors are wholly unreliable, but there is no scenario in which I am blaming this guy for murder, and this being the extent of the evidence. State prosecutors must feel similarly, as Juan Arredondo has never been charged with any crime relating to Tabitha Tuders. Could Juan have abducted Tabitha? Certainly, but evidentially no more so than any of the numerous sex offenders who resided in Tuders' neighborhood at the time of her disappearance, who drove an emerald-colored vehicle, which, surprisingly, after looking it up, is less than 1% of the American public. Interesting. Okay, maybe he did do it. I'm just kidding. I don't think he did it. Okay, now, the red car, which, just so you know, approximately 9% of Americans drive. I think this lead is much more substantial. Independent search dogs followed a path that corresponded with a direct eyewitness, a boy who was familiar with Tabitha before the incident. This lead has somehow become synonymous with Jamie Tuders' ex-boyfriend, an unnamed African-American male who was in the age range provided by the 11-year-old witness, who may have also driven a red car. However, according to my research, and much like what he told the police, I could find absolutely no evidence that this man was ever in the possession of a red car. The man told police he didn't even own a car, and he passed the lie detector attesting to this testimony. I know that investigations are often flawed, and sometimes detectives' efforts leave much to be desired. Even so, I still believe in the police and their ability to fact find. In this case, authorities have maintained a healthy skepticism regarding the red car account from the onset. Because of this, I have to believe that they must have good reason to do so. Otherwise, why wouldn't they want to throw their full weight behind this allegation? Also, on a humanitarian level, to abduct and murder your ex-girlfriend's teenage sister and go about your life as normal in the subsequent days, months, and years would be pretty cold-blooded. Jamie's ex, from what I've read, is not a known serial killer, so I would have to instead believe that they have skillfully maintained this stoic facade for a long time without fail. I don't see it. For what it's worth, Bo and Deborah don't either, and I am a firm believer in parental intuition. So what do I think happened? Well, staying with the elder Tuderses, both have always maintained that their daughter would never willingly enter a stranger's vehicle. Here's the problem with that assumption. The vast majority of us are fortunate enough to experience maybe a handful of life or death situations, if any at all. We know anecdotally that in these instances, timid individuals can become death-dealing forces. Bold individuals can become poor-spirited recreants. We are all emotional beings with an infinite resource of reactions. What one individual does most often in benign circumstances is not the limit of their response in a heightened episode. I think to believe as much is to seriously underestimate context and interminability. Even if you believe that Tabitha would not enter a stranger's car on her own 99.9999999% of the time, as in Cromwell's mathematical rule, the remaining probability still has to be accounted for. Here resides that one miserable outlier. Ergo, on the morning of April 29, 2003, Tabitha Tuders is on her way to the school bus in earnest. Buoyed by the sight of her aced report card, she walks with a certain bounce in her step, so much so that her focus remains on the paper when a man in an olive-colored car pulls alongside of her. He is one of the hundreds of registered sex offenders that inhabit the East Nashville neighborhood. A quiet respite momentarily befalls the busy area. The man approaches Tabitha and produces a gun. Tuders' natural instinct to avoid harm supersedes her rational mind, and she cooperatively enters the abductor's vehicle. Tabitha is stewarded back to the vile man's nearby home. It is here that Tuders is subjected to hours of undue torture before she is cruelly strangled to death. As the sun sets on the Music City, Tabitha Tuders is buried beneath equal layers of earth and cement in the far reaches of the long-fenced backyard of a killer. One day shy of Tabitha Tuders' 30th birthday on February 14th, 2020, lead detective Stephen Jolly told News 2 in Nashville, Tennessee, that he and his team are now of the mind that Tabitha was abducted, drugged, and forced into prostitution. The revelation was completely divergent of the department's previously held theory that Tuders was a runaway. Stephen espoused that the new think hypothesis became the focus because the majority of the tips they had received suggested this narrative. Jolly also identified a man who is currently serving what he called a lengthy sentence in a federal prison, known to be involved in prostitution in the East Nashville area during his time on the outside, as central to the newfound investigation. However, he stopped short of directly naming the individual in question. When told of the about face in direction, Bo and Deborah exhibited little motion. After 17 years of leads and tips, the grieving mother and father are numb to virtually any news that does not reunite the sorrowful parents with their missing daughter. We don't see our daughter doing that, they said, but with all the trafficking and the people abducting children, it could be possible. The Tuderses still reside at 1312 Lillian Street. Tabitha's missing poster still hangs outside the home. Inside, everything in Tuders' bedroom is how it was on the day she left for school on April 29th, 2003. On the 20th anniversary of Tabitha Tuders' disappearance, Deborah lamented, "She's always going to be in our hearts, no matter where she's at. And one day, we're going to be together again." Fighting back tears as she spoke, she conclusively opined, "If she's not here on earth, we'll be together in heaven." A $50,000 reward is being offered in this case. Thank you so much for listening to the story of Tabitha Tuders. Please be sure to like and subscribe. As always, I want to take a moment and tell you what a phenomenal individual you truly are. If you are struggling right now for any reason, please be aware that good help is available. You are not alone, and it most certainly gets better. Be kind to yourself and everyone else you come in contact with, as you will never fully realize the influence the gesture can have. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.